What's up, everyone? I'm Logan with 89 AutoWorks, and today we're finally getting to work on a project that I've been very excited for a long time to work on. We're getting down to the end of the Rocket Wagon series, phase 1 of the Rocket Wagon series. It's going in for some color match work. I won't see the car back realistically probably for 3 weeks to a month. It's time to get going on Subawho. This is Jake's car. This is a 2006 STI. It's got a really badass motor. No, it does really have a badass motor we're putting in it. This car is, let me just start with a little history lesson here. So this car, I met Jake last year. Last fall, I should say. I met Jake. He got a hold of me on my business Facebook page, and first from the very first minute, I remember I was sitting in my truck and talking to him on the phone, and he's started off with, I want a 600 horsepower motor, and I'm most people come to me and they say stuff like that, and they don't realize what it takes to actually have real horsepower like that. And Jake has absolutely he knows exactly what it takes and what goes into it. Jake is from North Carolina. He was in the Marine Corps out there, and long story short, he bought this car, blew it up, and that was 7 years ago. And the car has been sitting since. In that time period, somebody stole all of his parts that he had been collecting for building the car. If I understand the story correctly, this was at the military base. All the parts got stolen out of the car, and basically Jake got screwed in that position. So he had to buy basically everything again. Now we're at a point where car's been sitting outside of my shop for 5 months or so, 4 months, and it's time to get cracking on this thing, because there is a long list of things to do on this car. She's been sitting. She has been sitting. You can see the paint is in pretty terrible condition. This is going to need put it this way, this one will be a taxing one for Isaac. Isaac will be doing all of the paint correction on this, and I'll be honest with you, we had this car in last weekend, and Isaac did a full strip of the interior and detailed the interior, and I will get you guys some shots of that because it looks freaking good. It looks like really freaking good. Yeah, and I told you guys Isaac killed it on the interior. Woo! Boy, oh freaking boy, does this thing look good. Yeah. Good job, Lassie. And, this car, like I said, it's a 2006 STI. And the car I've actually never even had power to it to be able to even know what is going on with it. But at this point, the whole story is that this car has like 90,000 miles on it. That's it. And never ever seen winter. Never ever, not a spot of rust on this thing. Absolutely, as far as bones go, is as good as it gets. You can see it's got some sun fading and stuff on the headlights, and obviously the paint has a ton of you can tell it's been sitting for a while and needs a full paint correction. There's obviously a project like this where basically a full car build, it does not happen overnight. These things are usually a few month long process, and hours and hours and hours, and unbelievable amount of hours. And I feel for Jake. I really do. I will say my biggest downfall in this business is I care about my customers and I care about people's experience, and I say that as a downfall, but it's only a downfall because I end up doing stuff for cheaper than I should. And this is a prime example of a car that I feel bad for the treatment Jake has gotten. And I feel bad that he's basically gotten screwed on this car and is way deeper in money in this car than he should be. And, I want to help him get this car back to something to be extremely proud of. I've always said bug eyes are my absolute favorite. Well, if you were ever going to really challenge that, I would say 0607 STIs are my absolute favorite. And for those of you that actually follow my channel, you guys know I have an 06 STI. that will be a big project on this channel. So this will be a fun one to start with before we do that. Our target here, starting out, like I said, was 600 horsepower. That was what we had started out with. That's what we're going for. Jake had a lot of parts that he already had accumulated, a lot of parts, and basically came to me and was like, hey, here we go, this is what I want. Bang, bang, bang. I went and picked it up from his house. Went through a bunch of his parts he already had. He had a short block that actually is ending up in Isaac's car now. So Isaac has Jake's short block, and that will be in the video for Isaac's car. A whole nother story on that. That will be another crazy video. Just unbelievable circumstances, and just goes to show you the type of community the Subaru / car community actually is. A bunch of people that just the same thing here. Just people that just have no business being in business. We got a lot of his parts sold off for him. Started putting some of that money towards his bill / more parts, and we started out, the number one thing for this was closed deck, closed deck, closed deck. Jake wanted closed deck. That was non-negotiable. So we ended up going with a stage 2.5 IAG closed deck block. That's good for 700 horsepower. Absolutely gorgeous block. So as you guys can see, this thing is absolutely a work of art. Looks absolutely beautiful. I'm extremely pumped to see this car go together, but I just wanted to get you guys a shot of those gorgeous pistons and those just absolutely pristine cylinder walls, closed deck, just so good. I absolutely love it. Do a very big, whole video on that block and everything that's going to be going on with it. So basically, at this point, we're going to be doing, it's a IAG closed deck block. It has GSC 272 cams plus 1mm valves, GSC springs, obviously, and then those are actually at out front right now. Jeremy's getting those taken care of, and it's gonna be cool because I will tell you, my first experience working personally with Jeremy was the Rocket Wagon. Obviously, those hybrid heads on that, and they're not cheap per se, but cost gets so far overlooked in my mind when the quality is every bit of exactly what they're advertising, and the customer service is number one. So, I know it's a long shot that you're watching this, Jeremy, but for some reason, if you end up watching this one day, thank you for doing your job the way you do, because that's exactly how I conduct business also. No false advertising, and I like that. Jake's heads are at out front. The guy that he had paid to originally do all of his head work on those heads, I got them from Jake, done, ready to go, ready to bolt on. They were actually bolted onto that short block that I was talking about. And basically, we were just going to run them, and then I went to lash them out once I had everything torqued down just to double check lash, and we weren't even close on, not even close on lashing out properly. So I'm extremely glad that we caught that as soon as we did, because that could have caused a blown up motor. Honestly, it really could have, especially with one plus 1mm valves. You're just taking out just that much more. There's only so much clearance you have between valve and piston when you're especially revving that thing out. It's like everything is really tight. So I'm really glad that I caught that in the time period I did, so we can get those to Jeremy, which they're already at. They already made it there, and Jeremy is working on them. I should have them back inside of the next 2 weeks. And it's just cool because they'll be done correctly. So that's the situation there. This car is getting a rotated setup, obviously, for 600 horsepower. And it's not 600 horsepower. I should say it's 600 wheel we're after. We might run a little bit short. This turbo situation. This will be my first rotated car. I've never done a rotated setup. And this one will also be getting a fat front mount intercooler. For those of you that know, he's getting a Treadstone front mount intercooler. This is not the newer Treadstones. This would be the older cast side tank Treadstones. That big freaking heavy son of a bitch. It is huge. And it's going to be a ton of work to trim the front bumper and get the front bumper to fit right. Obviously, we do have the STI front bumper for this thing, and we're at the point where we're trying to figure out if we need to buy a true front mount intercooler bumper for this car, or if we can shave up and make the one we have work and still appear nice. We don't want... I don't want to go full drift car and end up with this thing where, you know, anytime you're going down the road, you see the front bumper shaking around. I can't stand that. So basically, as far as exhaust goes, it has the Perrin rotated kit, so the up pipe and down pipe, and that'll be obviously with a external wastegate. We bought HKS unequal length headers, Mishimoto oil cooler, ID 2000 injectors, Walbro 450 fuel pump, which that's a temporary thing. We're going to, for now, that's what we're running with. We're going to go to a radium dual pump hanger. That was just, it's an expensive part. That one part is expensive, and we should be able to make our goal with a Walby 450. So we're going to go through. Brembos are coming off, actually, like probably today. Brembos are coming off, and then we will go ahead strip the Brembos. Somebody tried to steal his wheels, which is why you saw the Honda wheels in the back of this thing. Somebody tried to steal these wheels that are brand new on here and tried smashing the lugs off because they couldn't get them off. So long story short, half the studs are snapped and broken out, so we got to press all new. He bought ARP wheel studs, so we will go ahead and they're the extra long studs, and we will press out the other ones, do new wheel bearings, and press new studs in. And while we're going to be pulling his wheels off, sending them off to powder coating. We got some pretty cool colors picked out for the powder coat on this car. It's different. Most people are, you know, me including, I love the traditional World Rally blue and gold. Yeah, woohoo, you know, Subaru. But, you know, Jake's had this car long enough. He's past the, you know, basic fanboy thing. And, you know, he realizes that this thing will look sick with the colors that we're putting on it. And this car is going to clean up phenomenally. I'm going to go ahead and we'll pull these headlights off, sand the headlights down, get them to a point where they look nice again, and then I will end up doing just a light tint on these. The rear tail lights are super tinted. We're going to try to save those, get that tint off there. Also, same thing, sand them, have the body shop paint them. The way that I am going to do the tinting on these is the more professional route, where you end up going and take it to, I got a buddy in town that runs a body shop, and he will take and basically tint clear coat is what you do. You're scuffing up the finish on here so you have something to adhere to, and you're shooting, like I said, tinted clear coat. So they will look really good. They're going to look really freaking good. And, you know, everything else on this car is just going to get a solid once over. It's still got the condenser up here, I see, so we're going to pull the condenser out, going no air conditioning. This car is getting absolutely nothing it doesn't need. Everything that it doesn't need is getting stripped off of it because, you know, it's a street car, but it's going to be a freaking race car. It's 600 horsepower in a car that weighs like 3,000 pounds, so it's going to be unbelievably fast, and that's what we're after, is just an unbelievable, crazy ride. This is all I can say. I've decided I'm going to wait on showing you guys all the freaking awesome parts in this thing. This is all I can say. This fat boy is going on there. And yeah, she looks crusty and rusty, but I'll tell you, this thing she's ready to go. Fresh rebuild. We'll pull the housings off. Housings will get, I'll bead blast this one so it looks good again. And then clean everything up. It's just been sitting for a while, so been sitting for a lot of years, getting ready to just make some serious horsepower. Obviously ball bearing, turbo, and everything, but you guys shall get the specs in another video. I just want to show you this big anti-surge compressor housing. Spicy. This thing's gonna be sick. Alright guys, so you can see we have our Garrett turbo here for the Subawho, and we are going to basically clean this sucker up and make it look nice again, because it looks beat, it looks old and looks crusty, and you know, it's not that, it's actually really nice and new. So we're just going to go ahead and strip this sucker down. bead blast it, and then we're actually going to talk about polishing your turbine housing and how easy that actually is to make it look good. Playing around with it on my TD06 turbine housing for my car. So yeah, here you go. There's a good one for you. TD06 versus the Garrett that's going on Jake's Subawho. Yeah, you know, this is a turbo that you'll make 400 horsepower with. This is a turbo that you're gonna make like a lot more than that with. So you can see the big difference here. So there you go. You can see the tremendous difference there. So yeah, this is a Mitsubishi TD0620G cartridge, and this is the Garrett cartridge. I honestly don't even know the specs on this thing. I honestly have no idea the specs on that thing, and I am not somebody that can just spec these things out. I know some people are always great about doing that. All right, so we're gonna throw these in the bead blaster now. All right, guys, so you can see that's just bead blasted. Looks real good, and then we will, like I said, steel wool inside here, clean all that up, get it nice and shiny again. And same thing back here, get that nice and shiny again. And then the whole turbo is going to get sanded and polished. So we will go ahead and I'm going to work on grabbing some sandpaper, and then we're going to go ahead and sand this thing down a little bit and polish her up. All right, guys, so you can see turbo, we have a rough sand on it. It's pretty much at this point we will bump down a grit level, something a little bit less aggressive, make another pass on it, and just flatten out some of those. You can see the little bit of sanding, or the casting marks on there still. We'll go ahead and make a pass over that and then see how it looks, and basically from that point it's going to be go to the buffer if it looks good enough. All right, guys, so you can see we got her all wrapped up, put back together, bead blasted the exhaust housing here, got that all cleaned up, looks real good. Haven't really decided what I'm going to do back here yet. I might end up taking this back apart and clear coating this. We were looking at some high temp powder coat. I thought this would look real good black, but the polish job turned out pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably go back and touch it up a little bit later, but I kind of just wanted to clean this turbo up. This turbo is an extremely nice Garrett turbo, and I basically just wanted to get it to a point where it looked that way. Looked pretty rough before, and now she looks good. I love it. I freaking love the polished turbo look. For every build I do, something sets the tone of the build, whether it be negative, whether it be positive. Something sets the tone for that build. For the rocket wagon starting out, it was the car itself. The car itself is what was like, oh yeah, that thing's sweet. And it's like, for me, it is this car that sets this tone. But I'll tell you, when I got this car, and I mean even now you guys saw it, it's rough right now. It's rough and it needs solid once over. And that's just why it's excellent, because what set the tone for this build was that IAG short block. That IAG short block is like, for the last 4 months, any customer that has come into my shop, they see that block sitting over there and they're just like, oh my god, it's, you know, it's a closed deck IAG block, it's sick. So I kind of just wanted the turbo to match the block, and you guys saw it. It matches it. See, this thing's in hovercraft mode. The wheel bearing and hub is off of there. I believe you call it, isn't that a unit bearing? I think that's what you call that. Anyways, but yeah, the whole, I think it's a unit bearing. Unit bearing's off of there, and you know, that's, so we're gonna go ahead and work on pressing it out. Let me show you guys what I got going here. So here's that unit bearing I was talking about, and basically I'm just trying to make a bracket that would more or less sit like this around here, bolt the bearing itself to this, and then this would be like on a stand, and then hopefully I can press out that hub is my hope. Yeah, we're gonna call it here. If you guys are looking forward to seeing this car make a ton of horsepower and get really, and no exaggerations for this car, but this thing is getting a restoration at this point. You can see how clean everything is under here. This thing is so ready to go. It's just the paint needs a legit paint correction, and you know, all the yes, everything needs a once over, a really good once over, and that's all this car actually needs. You know, it's a really nice car. It's just been sitting for so long, it's just like you forget how nice this car actually is. And I don't forget that, but from a perspective of you guys not being able to physically see this car, it's freaking nice. It's like, it's really nice. Like, it's a 90,000 mile Hawkeye STI. I mean, kind of a rare car. And I don't know this, but apparently for this year, Obsidian Black Pearl, which is what the paint job is, or the paint color is for 06, apparently Obsidian Black Pearl is, there was only like 500 made in 2006, and that's kind of cool. And then in 2007 they went to a different color black, which is what they carried in 2008, 2009 STIs also. So yeah, interesting. That's an interesting fact that I heard the other day from the owner of the car that I think is pretty cool. So like and subscribe to the channel, please. Stick around for future goodness, because it only gets better from here, and I can assure you of that. Thanks, guys. If anyone was ever wondering how to get this yuck off of your car, and go back to a little spicy boy, just use a little brake clean. A little brake clean and a rag. What you got going, Lassie?
I'm trying to push the spring back so I actually...
Yeah. Yep. It's good stuff.